Good morning, third grade. Today you have lesson 16. And so on this lesson, you are learning about liquid measures. So far, you've had something called linear measures, which means things that you can measure in a line. And for those, you had things like inches or centimeters, or you had feet, yards. And now we're measuring liquids. And so today I would like you to get out your interactive notebook if you don't have it out already, because you are going to want to write all of this in this green box in your notebook. But I want to draw it a little differently for you to help you remember it. So first in your notebook, and if I start going too fast, you are on the video, so just pause it, get caught up, and then continue on. But first, you're going to make a big G, big capital G, because out of all these measurements that we see here, the gallon is the biggest one, a gallon of milk. And so the G stands for gallon. The next biggest is quarts. So if you look at the containers, the gallon is the biggest container, but then these containers are the next biggest. So inside your G, we're going to make quarts. Well, it says that there are 4 quarts that equal 1 gallon. So I'm going to draw 4 Q's. Now I want the Q's to be big. I want them to be about as big as they can be to fit inside the G. Okay. So I have 4 quarts that can fit in a gallon. So inside my G, I was able to fit 4 quarts, 4 Qs. Then we look at what our next biggest one is, and it's this size, which is called a pint. Well, there are 2 pints in each quart. So let me erase some of that because now it's hard to read. If you look at it, it says 2 pints equals 1 quart. So inside every Q, we're going to write a P, 2 P's, because there are 2 pints in each quart. So once again, I'm doing them as big as I possibly can, but still fitting them in there. So now if I were to try to figure out how many pints are in a gallon, I could count how many P's are inside the big G. All right, and then finally, the last one is there is 2 cups in each pint. So I'm going to now do 2 little C's inside each of those P's. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2, 1, 2. Now, as I'm doing this is something that is a good visual, because after you learn it today, you can put it on any paper, including tests. So if you don't remember how many cups there are, draw this out, okay? Everything is 2 after you get done with drawing the 4 quarts, and the 4 Q's match perfectly inside your G. Now you can move on and do the rest of the paper and come and look back at this if you need. So the start says right from smallest to largest. So what's the smallest unit that we're learning today for measuring? Well, if you look up at the top, which one is the smaller container? Cups is. So cup is first. That's the smallest. Then, and if you look over here, it was the last one we wrote. They're the tiniest ones. Then what's the next smallest letter? Pint. After we have 2 pints, that makes a quart. And finally, we get a gallon. Now notice that they did, in your book, do the abbreviation. So you're going to start seeing that abbreviation down on number 2. So 1 pt, that, if you come up here, look right here, pt means pint. 1 pint is how many cups? Well, it says right here, equals 2 cups. Okay. 1 qt, that means quart. Okay, so now if I look over in my big G, find one of the Q's. A big Q stands for, on our picture, the quart. So if I have 1 quart, how many little P's are in the quarts? There's 2. Okay, now on C, if I have that big gallon, the big G, how many Q's did we fit inside of it? There's 4 quarts in a gallon. All right, now they're doing the opposite. Now they're saying if you have 4 quarts, what else do you have? Once I have 4 Q's, let me picture that. If I have 4 Q's, what could that equal? Oh yeah, a big 1 gallon. And I'm going to do the abbreviation this time. 1 gallon. If I have 2 cups, so find where there's 2 cups, that equals 1 pint. And finally, if I have 2 pints, it means I have 1 quart. Okay. All right, solve the story problems. I'm going to read them, but I would like you to solve them because otherwise I will do this whole paper with you and I want you to do something on your own. It says we need a gallon of ice cream, but the store only has quarts of ice cream. If we buy 4 quarts, will we have enough? So this first one is either yes or no. Because it says, if we buy 4 quarts, will we have enough? Yes or no? And then it says, because blank quarts equals a gallon. You need to write how many quarts equal a gallon. On B, Micah's family drank a quart of orange juice. If they had a quart of orange juice, how many pints did they drink? How many P's can you put inside that Q? Okay. Number 4, it says show this fact in 4 ways. So this is where you have a multiplication, and then an adding problem and an adding problem. Okay, so you do the 4 facts. We did this the last couple papers. All right, either pause the video to finish those or keep going by turning it to the back side and then come back and finish those. All right, this is other stuff I want you to write in your interactive notebook. Last time we had geometry, we just did the shapes, the vertexes, and the sides. I would like you to write in your notebook geometry at the top of one of your pages. And I would like you to write down a quadrilateral, and then you're going to write a shape with 4 sides and 4 vertexes. So this is a quadrilateral. This one is not because it's not 4 sides. This one is a quadrilateral. This one is not. It has 5 sides. This one is a quadrilateral. This one has 6 sides. This one is a quadrilateral. This one is a quadrilateral. This one's a quadrilateral, and this one's a quadrilateral. Okay? Then the next thing I would like you to write is perpendicular lines. 2 lines that form right angles when they cross. So just like that, they put little squares in there because that's showing you right angles. So perpendicular lines have to look like a cross or like a plus sign. It can be an X as long as it's a perfect X where you have a square corner. Okay, the next one. Parallel lines are lines that never cross. Parallel lines can be like the ones that they drew. They can also go diagonal. They can go vertical. It's just that they will never touch no matter how far you draw them. although your lesson is short, you have a lot to write in your notebook today. So that's why you have a short lesson. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral where opposite sides are parallel. So what that means is parallelogram has the word parallel. This side is opposite of this side. Those are parallel lines. They will not touch. This side is opposite of this side. They have parallel lines. They will not touch. Another one that's a parallelogram is a rhombus. Parallel, parallel. Will not touch. Okay? And finally, the last one you're going to write is a right angle is an angle with a square corner. Okay? So please take time, either pause the video and do it, or after you're done watching the video, just look up at the top and write them down. All right, so it says use the shapes above to answer the questions. All right, first one, write two shapes that have 4 equal sides. 4 equal sides. Okay, well, we know a square is one of those because all sides are equal. A rectangle has 2 long sides, but then 2 short sides, so that one is not equal. The diamond looks like it could have all 4, or the rhombus. So I'm going to write rhombus. The rhombus is exactly like a square that it just got blew over a little by the wind. So it does not have square corners like a square does, but it is 4 equal sides. Okay, number 6, write 3 shapes that have 2 sets of equal sides. So what that means is like a rectangle. Okay, it has 2 short sides, but then it has 2 long sides. So find one, or find 2 more that have 2 lines that are the same, and then the other 2 lines are the same. Number 7, write 4 shapes that have opposite sides that are parallel. Okay, so like I just drew, parallelogram. Okay, rhombus. If I look, is a hexagon. This and this, they're parallel. They're never going to touch. They're straight lines. And then this line is opposite of this line. Guess what? It's never going to touch. This line is opposite of this line. It's never going to touch. So a hexagon could go there also. Number 8, which shapes have at least one right angle? A right angle means it has a square corner. It just has to have one square corner. And then number 9, this one's kind of tricky. It says, find and trace 2 sets of perpendicular lines. Remember, perpendicular lines means that they make a square corner. So for example, I'm going to trace it and trace it. Do those make a square corner? Yes. Then you find another place where it can make a square corner. Okay? And then 2 sets of parallel lines. So I'll do a different color for this one. Well, right here, I see this line. Let me erase that. My iPad moved on me. This one is straight. Oops, if I could trace it better. We'll never touch that one. Okay, find another one like that. All right, like I said, you have a shorter lesson, but you have a lot to write in your interactive notebook. So please make sure that you take time to do that because it will make your next lessons a lot easier. If you don't write it all down, you're going to have to remember all your information, and I will not be very helpful when you ask me for help because it should be in your interactive notebook. So please take time to do that right now. All right, good luck, and raise your hand if you have any questions.